always wanted to be able to make some form of music, and that's why I wanted to learn an instrument. My brother taught me the guitar, and then from then on, I just decided to try and learn new things and take a shot at writing and things like that. And here we are today.
Hello and namaste. This is Preeti Pandey Adhikari, the founder of the Great Nepali Diaspora, a community of global Nepali talent. This is season 4 of TGND Beats, Diaspora Ka Kurakani, our podcast where we share human stories of struggle, perseverance, and success. Let's welcome our very special guest, Sajjan Raj Vaidya.
Hi, thank you so much.
Sajjan, let's get started. We have tons of questions, so much excitement around you being here. Tell me, who is Sajjan? Is he a singer, a musician, a writer, or a combination?
Sure, that's a very good question, so thank you for that. First and foremost, every time I talk about myself, I say I am first and foremost a musician. Yeah. And what that entails for me is also being a writer as well, and perhaps somebody who likes words and the melodies and all that sort of stuff. But I would say just I classify myself into one simple word. I'm a musician, and a musician who likes expression in perhaps metaphors and experimentation with new melodies or something. But yeah, if I had to boil it down to one word, I would just say I'm a musician who likes to do a few different things.
Amazing. Can you share a little about, one or two elements from your childhood and youth in Nepal that has in some way shaped you into the person you are, really?
Sure. So every foundation for me, every part of my life kind of traces back to my foundation of being in Nepal and growing up in Nepal, and spending time with my family, and my family influences every bit of my identity, like whether it's a musician side of things or having been someone who's left Nepal and found home elsewhere as well, and finding we find ourselves searching for our identities when we move away from Nepal, and that's also something that's a theme of my family as well. So every bit of my personal identity goes back there. Growing up in Nepal, my parents and my brother, they're absolutely music lovers as well, and that is actually how I got introduced to the area at all in the first place. And my mum, she's in love with a lot of the Nepali music that I grew up listening to, and and my father, he's more on the Western touch of things, and my brother,
he's then.
Yeah, I know. It's been a great like I was gonna say, my brother also got me introduced to the newer side of things, so it was like a good combination, and I became the amalgamation of, I suppose, the taste of all the three of them combined. And growing up in Kathmandu, I was able to as everyone does, was able to get into Bollywood music as well, and so it was just essentially a concoction of various tastes, and that's what got me interested in the first place. And I always wanted to be able to make some form of music, and that's why I wanted to learn an instrument. My brother taught me the guitar, and then from then on, I just decided to try and learn new things and take a shot at writing and things like that. And here we are today.
Amazing. As a child, did you think that music would be your primary? That's how people would know you for, Vanessa?
I don't know if I thought about it that way. Music was essentially, even as a child, something that I was always going to keep close. Something that I was always going to have in my life, because whenever I thought of what did I find common with my father, it was like, that we would blast, Bob Marley or Bryan Adams or something across the house. And if I was talking about my connection with my brother, it was about how we would collect all the CDs and the lyrics and write things down. And with my mum, it was about how we sang in the kitchen when load sheddings and all those things happened. So yeah, it was always a part of the identity. So obviously I wanted to be able to make it. but I
Right.
didn't think, like, okay, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to,
Right. Right.
like there was no set path. It was essentially I wanted to like do more of it, listen to more of it, and
Right.
basically always be surrounded by music and
Right.
hopefully like make some of it and yeah, that's how everything pushed me here.
Yeah, that's amazing. And look at the journey you've taken, right? It's incredible, even for us to see it from the sidelines. So I can't imagine what you feel like. Tara, let's talk about the recent tour that you did all over the world. Incredible attendance, incredible excitement around it. Do you have one or two sort of highlights from this overall experience?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's first of all, like I want to say to our community, and that's one of the reasons why I appreciate like what your team does as well. It's always been very surprising to us everywhere we go how strong the sense of community and the identity of somebody being Nepali is there. We've gone to Sydney and been in venues that are massive that we never thought of.
Right.
And it's absolutely filled, with everyone who's essentially like, the moment you ask them, okay, well, what do you identify as? And they're like, okay, we're living away from Nepal, but we're very much Nepali. And we've seen that in Australia and Toronto and New York and like I can't give you one or two
Mm.
highlights because there's so many and we were
Right.
constantly overwhelmed with so many different things. But I would have to say the common theme, rather, that's something I can offer is everywhere we went, the amount of people who showed up, whether it was in the middle of the week or perhaps when it was raining or snowing or
Right.
whatever, for them to come and like sing together with us is in venues that we've only heard about and
Of
read
course.
about in papers and all that sort of stuff is that was amazing. So every time we go and when people sing with us and the volume, well, I have to say, like, it's probably not like not the most how would I say smooth sailing kind of experience that we had with
Right.
the Toronto show because unfortunately we had to postpone it and
Right.
so before the Toronto show happened we were very much like Sydney and Melbourne and New York was definitely
Right.
one of the loudest like few of the loudest places that we had
Mm.
and Toronto because of the postponement like only about half or so the people were able to come
Right.
because it was a last minute change in schedule and everything and even that, and we thought it would not be as loud and everything, but we were
Mm.
wrong. Even the people who could make it with the change of plans and
Right.
with the postponement and everything, the volume, and the sheer like involvement of the crowd with the songs and with everyone that was on stage and with each other, and the
Right.
ambiance was absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, I have to say, we've been very fortunate that people have been able to like we've been able to like relate and
Yeah.
be part of people's lives in some way and they've given us a chance to and chance and given us their time and effort to like be together in places like these and it's been amazing. It's I think it's never going to get old every time we go, whether
Right.
it's 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people. It's always like fantastic to see someone sing and relate to like the music and the words.
Exactly, exactly. And I know a lot of them that don't even know how to really speak Nepali or like let alone read it, right? And they're singing
Well,
along and they know all your lyrics. They would probably not speak that fluently for anything else, but they sort of they connect their identity with you, right? And your songs and
right.
so on. So I love the appeal that it has, and I love that it has that connection with the with people. So that's really, really beautiful.
Right. It's incredibly rare, and we're very fortunate.
Awesome. So, in terms of, you're resting a little bit after the tour, that what's next? What are you thinking? If you can share anything.
Oh, no, definitely. So my team and I've got a fantastic team behind me. They're the backbone of everything that I envision and try to execute, and
Right.
they've facilitated all that very much to the absolute degree. And so they've been facilitating me to like try and be again like essentially a creator in
Mm-hmm.
that they've allowed me the space to like try and write a few songs and perhaps like think about what is it that I want to play in
Right.
terms of shows and where is it that I want to play and So because of that, so I'm working on a few releases about, some things, some stories that I want to
Mm-hmm.
tell. One thing that I really like to do whenever I think about my music is genre hop and
Right.
theme hop. Every time I come out with something,
Right.
that's one of the reasons why I don't, not like I would say, but one of the reasons I prefer doing like singles is because,
Mm-hmm.
every time you get to tell a story or perhaps be in a genre that's entirely different is that
Right.
you get to experiment, and that's what I'm thinking of doing. And I've so sorry to answer your questions. We are just working on a few songs at the moment and
No.
thinking about where else to play shows. And because the tours that we've done so far has been so like it's been such a wonderful experience for us that we
Mm-hmm.
just want more of it, and we want to
Of course.
reach our supporters in any part we can. There's so many Nepali people, like you said. You and I, we had a conversation
Right.
as well about Rwanda, and people being in Dubai and everything, and
Mm.
hopefully like all the love that we've gotten from people from all these different places and the
Right.
deep like eastern and western parts of Nepal that we haven't been able to go
Mm.
to, hopefully we'll get to like return the favor and like play for all the supporters that we have. And that's the plan, and hopefully with the effort we'll be able to deliver songs that people will be able to connect to again, and and in some way like remind them of a part of their life, or hopefully like give them,
Right.
make them feel good. So
Of course.
essentially, make more music is the goal. Make more
Awesome.
music and play more music. Yeah.
No, I think people would love that part of it. Um,
In
it's sort of, when you look back on your journey as a musician, as a singer, in everything you've been able to accomplish, do you feel like as an artist, have you, have you grown as an artist, or do you feel like there's much more room to sort of grow?
No, no. I mean, in terms of growth, I've absolutely grown, and I think it's the credit is all due to the people. The more love that
Right.
people have given us, the more we've been able to see and experience. It's given us new, understanding of things. The show that I used to want to do, just like private shows. Before, and it was like 100 people. The
Mm.
Hyatt show that we did, the Colorado show that we did, it was just essentially to connect with people who would listen to our songs. And when I went to Kathmandu, that was when we
Mm.
realized like there's so much stories to be told, and people kept telling us like when they connected to a song, or
Right.
why they enjoyed it and things like that. And therefore, like we decided, what, we have to try and play and return the favor and just
Right.
essentially be together in that music. So in that regard, and growth is certainly there. And
Mhm.
like what I have to say is that because there's so many new talents coming up in Nepal, and not just new talents, but there's many like talents that are being like brought into focus, and I think that is
Right.
fantastic about what these communities are doing. And even communities such as yourself, they're like
Mhm.
any reason to highlight anybody who's relevant in any way, not just music and anything. Is That's the beauty of it, where
Mhm.
I've been able to like work with other musicians and artists, and learn so many
Right.
different things. And that's yeah, growth has certainly been like essentially like an active part of it, and that is something that we hope to continuously do in the future as well. We feel like we don't know nearly as enough as we
Mm.
can, and that's the beauty of it, right? You can
Right.
always do more, always write new songs, always learn new genres, always go to a
Right.
different city to play, or perhaps come back to the city for a different experience. And that's
Right.
how it's been with every aspect we've done. And again, we've been very fortunate, and yeah, and hopefully we'll only grow, and hopefully the only way up from here is upwards.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Do people give you feedback in terms, oh, you bhayena, you like, I like this better. Are people vocal about it?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it is one part of it where we take it in a way where it comes from the intention to
Mm.
make things better, and
Right.
versatility and variability is certainly something that we value very much. And
Right.
every time somebody says that, it's not so much only like a in a strict function where you
No.
input something and there's an output and you just do
Right.
something with it. It's essentially this thing that changes constantly. And everybody, when someone says, "Oh, you need to go back and go to basics and go back to like old things," and that's also very much valued, and that's
Right.
something we find ways to enjoy.
Of
When
course.
then somebody says, "Yeah, you need something new," and then you try to figure out what is something new, and all that sort of stuff. Obviously. everything is imperfect, you know.
Right.
You write a song, you can rewrite it 100 times, and you know, each time it might be better or worse than the other time, so
Mm.
you can never be perfect, but you can only try to do, you know, hopefully incrementally or a lot better than the last time, and then that's
Right.
what we try to do.
Right. Right. Just on that note, Sajjan, can you share examples of maybe like a song that you thought was okay, like you liked it, that it just was viral in a way, right? In terms of you didn't expect that kind of a response, or some, on the flip side, something that connected with you deeply,
Right.
whether creatively or whatever, and it sort of was just okay, thus okay, in terms of you expected in terms of response from your fans, response from the audience, Matze. Do you have
Right.
surprises like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, most of them it's been, you know, positive surprises,
Mm.
thankfully. And again, like
Right.
as a fortune plays a big part of that because, you know, we don't expect when something becomes so important to
True.
someone and where we you know that's how we're like
Right.
surprised and we're ecstatic when we find that out. So songs like Onotomotu, which was
Mm.
essentially just like a you know, I was just like trying to do just play something in New York City and then
Right.
just like record it at the time. Whatever I knew, it
Yeah.
wasn't perfect. You know, the recording, the mixing, mastering. I didn't like you know, I wasn't as you know educated in those areas as I think I am now. And so those songs, like because of that, we you know my team and I we sit down and revise like, oh, this is not up to par. It's like
Yeah.
you know we think like it's just okay. It's just
Right.
average and people come and ask us like why did you remove it, you know, and then like that was something that we like really we even scour the internet to find it, and that's what we still listen to. Please bring it
Yeah.
back, kind of the thing. And that was one of the things. And again, like you know, to that question, like what is the definition of reception
Yeah.
is also very important,
Yeah.
right? Because reception is not always views,
Yeah.
reception is not always you know streams. It's so
Exactly.
much more, and that when we go to shows and we leave a song out of the set
Mm.
list and somebody inquires about it, like why
Mm.
is that song not there? You know, somebody perhaps loves Putgizani, somebody hates it. You know, somebody
Right.
loves Sukumbasi, the other person hates it, and like,
Mm.
but that's not the point. You know, the point is at the time of conception and production and execution, what
Right.
is the intent?
Mm.
For instance, Sukumbasi is a song that I absolutely like love playing, and I listen to it myself as well, just to remind myself about what the train of thought was.
Right.
Why did I write it? You know, what
Mm.
the production style was, like who inspired that song in terms of artists, you know, what really brought me to that mindset. And when you put it out, the goal is, you know, not to say that, okay, you know what, this is going to get a
Mm.
million billion streams. The goal is to say, like, we put it out. This
Right.
is a song that I'm happy with. And what that does is, if you are happy with a song that you've written, that you put out, and putting out is very like, the releasing the song is very important because
Mm-hmm.
as artists, at least personally for me,
Right.
um, once it's released, then you can move on, right? You know,
Mm.
this is a common thing that,
Right.
you know, I've heard artists, you know, have with not just musical artists, like painters and all that sort of stuff as well. Until you actually like publish it, you'll always feel like you can go
Never
back
done.
and like, yeah. So,
Right.
so that's why it is. So yeah, I don't think we are disappointed
You.
in anything that we've tried, and it has not generated like a million billion streams. And
Right.
it's always fantastic to get like so much attention and love, mostly in the positive way that we've been
Mm.
able to. It's always great, you know. I'm not going to say that that doesn't make us happy. It does,
Right.
and what that does is, fortunately, we've been able to like look at it from the lens of, okay, what did we do
Exactly.
here? Were we able to
Exactly.
perhaps write a catchy melody, make a great video? Perhaps we got the message right on the nose, and you know that's what it's about, and it's all about the journey. And sometimes, obviously, you need a fun song that is not too deep, and sometimes
Yeah.
you need you know deep songs that are just riddled with melodies and
Right.
metaphors, and that's what it is. So yeah, we've been able to be happy with what we've put out, and we you know we can only be thankful that we've got the resources to put more of it out, and
Of
you know
course.
like consider doing more.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Um, Esparta, let's step a little sort of back in terms of, when we met.
Right.
We had a conversation around, you're obviously so well known, everybody loves you, and all of that. That in terms of having almost like a different experience with the community, whether it's
Yeah.
around the world or in Nepal, just some share some early thoughts in terms of what that sort of means.
Right. So, I mean, the thing about that particular, the sense of community and how like experiences are different is essentially, for me, is the discovery aspect, finding out what people in what parts of the world have been doing what. It's
Mm.
like we've talked about this, and one of our early introductions was about an investor's pitch, where
Mhm.
we figured out that Nepali people had gained so much
Right,
ground on the tech side of things,
right.
and perhaps the entrepreneurial side of things that nobody knew about because I didn't know about it.
Exactly.
And that's one of the aspects in like, what that does, what that did for me specifically was like, you know what, popularity is not the only metric that you can
Mm-mm.
actually, that you can measure. I don't know, I suppose for the lack of a better word, like success or reach with,
Right,
is
yeah.
because like under the radar as well, without people, knowing things, people
Well,
have been able to do so much, and
right.
that is the part of like, the aspect of the community that I've been able to fortunately experience and
Mhm.
find through people, which is amazing. Like I also talk to you about one of my best friends, who's a Nepali musical artist as well. And Nepal, mate, he's not as well known, but
Right.
in the world, he is so highly regarded. And I'm sure, like, everyone in the Nepali, like, popular scene deserves the credit as well. We hear so much about so many people, but like Sargun, his name is
Mhm.
Sargun. He's a fantastic hip hop and lo-fi artist, and
I
and
looked him
we.
up. Very incredible. I was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
impressed.
Yeah, and people don't know that much about it, and he's slowly coming into recognition. And my goodness, does he deserve it? And things like that. It's that he's a simple kid from Bhaktapur who came up with his musical skills. With
Right?
like people, talk about complex studios and music degrees and everything. No, he just did it purely out of the love for music, and
Passion,
that's what he
right?
continues to do. Yeah, and people like that, and us, like when we focus as well, like people who've started companies of all different sorts, and
Exactly.
going from tech to other things as well, and with such simplicity, and being able to make it in the global space, that's what we constantly come back to, global international space that they've seemed to do is. Yeah, the discovering those stories and discovering those people is very inspiring, and saying that, what, if you do what you love in one way or the other, it's worth it, and it's going to come back, not just in terms of
Right.
monetary value, but in terms of what makes you happy about what you've done. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's the aspect of the community about Nepal that I love so much, because at every level, to,
Right.
like, let's say, multi-million dollar worth company level, or like somebody who's gone to Dubai to work, like
Mhm.
support their families and everything. You figure out so many stories that people have struggled, and what's really like inspiring is that everyone has made it in one regard or the other,
Right.
and
Right.
people, like, thrive so much, and that's what the inspirational bit of it is.
Of course. No, no, I love that. And I think on our end, the reason we have the Great Nepali Diaspora is so that, people can be successful on their own. So now,
Right,
we also want to showcase that there is a community behind people, okay, to
right.
amplify the voices, to really, provide resources or even information and everything. That's really interesting. हाम्रो audience को लागि I'll just give a little bit of context in terms of that pitch thing that you're talking about.
Right.
The Great Nepali Diaspora, we run
Mhm.
incubators. So we had one session where the teams were pitching, I think preparing to pitch. And so, on Zooms, lots of faces on Zoom. We were doing introductions. And there's Sajjan. You were helping Echo Win, right?
Yeah.
Software engineer, right?
So yeah.
So we have this group, pitching and everything. Everybody's introducing themselves, and Sajjan is like, "Oh, I mean, just helping the team, right?" And I was like, "That is not your only introduction. There's so much more people. Like it was just incredible to see him on a pitch thing, but yeah, that was really interesting.
Right.
Um, Sajjan, we've been talking about this a little bit, right? Uh, there is obviously a lot of attention, when you're famous, when you're well recognized, there's a lot of, it's nice, but it can be overwhelming sometimes, right?
Right.
And then there's this perception of what a public personality is and what are the boundaries. This man, like, how can people respect those boundaries? Whether it means, public personality, त्यस्तो सबै भए पनि you have that sort of side of things that are sometimes I think people don't understand those boundaries. How can people be respectful?
Um, that's a very interesting question. It's fortunately I've always been able to be on the positive side of things, and I think on that the only thing that I have to say is that it's people have their personal side of things that that people like to keep reserved, and it's not hiding your life, it's just essentially having that moment and that bubble of yourself saying, okay, you know what, this is my life outside of what you do, because to what we spoke about earlier, I'm a musician, but I'm also someone who loves, coding. I love to discover, like tiny different things. I'm also, someone who loves playing football, working out, and things like that. And as you can see with the jersey, but essentially, like I think the only thing that people need to understand, and far be it from me to give advice on this because I'm no expert, but the only thing that I've seen is that is to be okay with somebody being private, well, not even completely private, but essentially wanting to keep an aspect of their life private, perhaps the romantic involvement, perhaps it's family related stuff, and that's the only thing. It's not it's not, I think we throw around the word arrogance quite easily in our community, and I have to say that I've met people, and I've been wrong as well many times where I've assumed that somebody's arrogant, and it just turns out that somebody's either a very shy person, perhaps somebody is quite private and takes time to know somebody, and there's things like that. There's details of people's life that people don't want to share, and not everything has to go on TikTok, not everything has to go on Instagram stories, and like while the clicks and the views and the likes and everything, it does matter, but it only matters in the right context. See, context in everything, right? And I might want to say, share a song. I might want to share the feeling of the song. Perhaps it's a happy song, and there's a certain story, but perhaps I want to keep, the story about who it's about or what brought me to that private, and I may not. And it's the only
it's your choice. What I feel to understand with people, and I think, and the reason I ask this question particularly is because I think our community also needs to unlearn what we've been doing, right? In terms of though this is the way we've done it so far. This is something you signed up for, but it doesn't cut it, right? I think it's high time we are aware of this thing, and I think educate ourselves. So if you want to share your private life, whatever parts, it's fine. But if you don't want to, let's respect that, right?
So that's the only thing, and because I've seen anyone who's gotten a bit of attention when I've had a conversation with them, that's the only thing they're like. Everybody's grateful. Me, my team, we're very grateful, and anyone I've spoken to, everyone's grateful, but they're just like, they're like, sometimes it's just like, I wish that the private things weren't like you put into display without consent, and that's everything. But I have to say, Nepali personalities that I've actually seen who've done well in any field, they are first and foremost grateful, absolutely, and about where they've been. That we come from a community where certain artistic areas and creative areas and were a rarity before, and now it's finally coming into attention. So everybody does acknowledge that. So I have to say that people are certainly grateful. So
Awesome. On that end, do you have a crazy tabandina that some alkiti overwhelming? I mean, people do respond to you very hisabले, तर have you had so overwhelming fan experience, whether it's on social media or in person? I mean, you've done a lot of interactions, right?
Right.
Can you think of something that's,
Yeah, anytime
I'm
somebody
sure
asks
there's a
this,
few.
yeah, no, I mean, every time somebody asks this, positively so,
Mm,
uh, I always think about that one experience,
mm,
where, this was in, Melbourne, or was it, somebody, asked for a signature on their
mm,
hand. And she was saying like, oh, I'm going to get a tattoo of it.
mm.
And then, well, you don't think that, that's actually going to happen. And then somebody actually got the tattoo, and it
Wow.
was surprising. And somebody actually else in America did that as well. And
Mm,
that is, I have so much like love for that, and I appreciate that so much because I can never like think of something that I've been able to
mm.
relate to that is not mine. That I wanted to be part of me so personally, and
Exactly. And
that's
it's
why,
on permanent level, right?
yeah, and
Mm,
that's why, like, like I feel so honored to that somebody felt that
mm,
anything that, perhaps I did or wrote or anything,
right.
was meant so much to them that they wanted, to tattoo that onto their body. And, that's certainly one of those. And, that's certainly one on the other end of the spectrum. Like, people keep sending us, and we do watch the videos and
Right.
we do read the messages. I've
Right.
got an entire team that we do that. Like, somebody sends their 3, 4 year old like child who's not even in Nepal at the moment, and has not yet learned Nepali,
Right.
but sings our songs,
Oh,
fully, and things like that. And that is every time it gets
yeah.
us. And the sketches people make, I don't understand it, and therefore I'm even
Yeah.
more, fascinated by it. And I'm
Right.
certainly thankful when people sketch you and, like, remember a photo of you as a child
Right.
and make that happen and things like that. And
Wow.
yeah, it's amazing.
That's really
We've
sweet.
been, yeah, it's we've been moved by
Mm.
quite a few moments, throughout our tours, and, like, social media experiences and everything. And it's amazing. We love it. We love it, and we're very honored to be a part of it in people's lives.
Awesome. Do you
Yeah.
have trolls, Bunny?
Yeah, I mean, every place, every area, every sector has trolls,
Mm.
and it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a learning experience
Yeah.
every time, it's sometimes trolls are trolls.
Mm.
You draw an apple, somebody wants a banana.
Mm.
You never really know, and the
Yeah.
thing is, the really important part to remember at that time is that you wanted to draw an apple, you drew an apple, you're
No.
happy with the apple, and that's
And
it.
you move on.
That's the end of it. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, and then there's nothing more to say with that. It's the trolls are there, and you are supposed to like look at that,
Mhm.
like this, like, when you're looking at a view, and you don't remember the
Right.
obstructions. When you're looking at, the ocean from the highway, you don't remember the railing on the side. You don't remember the ugly warning signs. You just remember the view, remember the horizon, you remember the trees and the water, and that's, how many times can you remember where you've actually seen a view and you've
Right.
noticed those sort of details? So, it's things like that. These
It's
days matter,
part
and
of it,
that's how
right?
you're supposed to do it. I think so, at least. That's my
No, no,
opinion.
no. Awesome. Awesome. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess advice for people that are trolling just to get your attention, it doesn't work, right? You just ignore the
I
details.
mean,
So
it
just get,
works.
just
It
get your
works.
attention.
Yeah, but it works to a level where, like, oh, like, oh, that's, you acknowledge it, like, oh, that's quite, mean. I was like, oh, that's not
Yeah,
true. I was like,
I know.
I wish you didn't say that, but
Yeah.
fortunately, my team and I and
Yeah.
the people who surround me, we have this, shared, attitude about that. Is like, that's there, it's happened,
Right.
but then, it doesn't matter. Like,
Mm.
it doesn't stop us from doing anything. It doesn't encourage us to do anything.
Right.
Like, it's, the only trolling and interaction and everything, and I've done is about football, and even that,
Yeah.
that is, like, limited to the scope of football, and
Okay.
like, the only thing I want to point out in that is, even in that or anywhere else, there's internet has a big trolling culture now, but,
Right.
the only thing that I shouldn't be there is hate
Mm.
and like, and things like that, where it actually harms someone. As
Exactly.
long
It's
as
not
that,
like your rivalry, त्यस्तो पनि हैन when it gets अलिकति
yeah,
mean. Yeah.
yeah, because people. do take things into heart. Everybody's human. It hurts them,
Right.
and it's when it affects their mental health is when you need to stop. And that is, as long as people understand that, I think everybody's
Yeah.
got enough of a strength to, overcome these hurdles. So,
Right, right. No, no, I so agree. And one thing I recently realized is it's also which social media you're on, okay? Right? Because people
yeah,
are, for some reason, people are way more vocal on Instagram and Twitter and, all of that, but not
yeah,
so much on LinkedIn, for example, right? Just,
yeah, yeah,
just as a, only like my hope is, it's the same people that are sort of, I mean, it's like there's an overlap that there's,
right,
the same kind of people that are on LinkedIn versus Instagram, right? What sort of
right.
provokes people to be that mean and so that side that LinkedIn ma they're sort of alikiti more reserved. They think twice, okay, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's crazy. Like there's very quickly an example that I saw on
Yeah.
Instagram. I saw this video of a gentleman in Toronto, and he was very enthusiastic. He was I think he was doing Uber Eats or something, and he's very like he speaks about it in such a
Right,
positive way that like obviously it's a difficult thing to leave Nepal and leave your home and come here like
right,
or anywhere else and like to
right.
do odd jobs that are essentially supporting your goals, of course to do something bigger and everything, and like everybody essentially struggles is what I'm trying to
Mm.
say, and like not everybody has the personality and then the ability to like look at it in a positive way and
Mhm.
keep focus on their goal. And
Right, right.
when this person asks like, okay, what do you love about the city? And they're like, oh, I'm doing this, I can be my own boss, and I love it. And his enthusiasm was so great. I, I
Mm.
could I could not see an area where
Mm.
people could like pick and be mean about
Right.
it. But somebody's like, oh, why are you so excited to be in Toronto? It's either too cold, or you're like, well, you're doing this, or that's not
Ah,
fancy enough, or that's something. You're like, why are you so bothered by someone
right.
doing well?
Mm.
Or even if they're not billionaires, millionaires, or they're happy,
Exactly.
why are you annoyed by somebody? And that's the thing, right? So, and that's the only thing I mean to say. Like, people will say it, and all that is like it's
Right.
pixels on a screen. When you like turn your phone off, and when you actually go do things that do affect your life, uh, those pixels are going to come around anymore, and
Exactly.
it doesn't matter. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. No, I hear you on that.
boom.
Um, Next, there's obviously a lot of younger creatives from not just music, that all genres that sort of, really look up to you in terms of what you've achieved. Um, uh, what is like, especially for people that want to follow their dream, that sort of, are thinking about a traditional path versus a creative path. What is your advice to people to sort of follow their dreams?
First of all, I'm also still in the same pool. I'm still trying to figure things out.
Oh,
I'm
right.
still learning as well, right? But I would say that, based on what I have been able to get support from
Mhm.
whomever, and based on the things that I have experienced, it's always important to remember why you do it. I once saw a meme that was, I know it's funny, but it
Yep.
was a meme that I hold so close to my like
Yeah.
yeah, philosophy and everything. Is like there was like there was like weights on the floor, and there was a big muscular guy in front of it, and then like right underneath is like Soul was this tiny like kid version of
Mm.
himself, like trying to learn how to lift weights, and it essentially said, remember what you came here for. And the point is that the little kid is now muscular, he's big, and
Right.
he's doing all this. He can do what he wanted to do, but like he needs to know why he was there. He wanted to get
Exactly.
stronger, he wanted to he enjoyed it, and all this other
Mm.
stuff, and therefore he was able to be there. And that's what I would say. It's if I do have any like I first of all I don't think I have any right to give people advice to say do this or that,
You.
or this is the right way, this is that. I don't know. Well, there is no
Yeah.
formula. I don't think so, and I don't know. I'm still learning, and hopefully we'll all get there, at the same time. And but everything that I have experienced and everything that has gone right, I would say like it's very important to remember why you do it, and
Mm.
like if you are a musician, do it because you love the music and because you want to perhaps make or listen to a certain kind of music. If you're an artist, perhaps you want to tell us some kind of a story. If you're a cinematographer, like, perhaps you love a certain kind of a tone, certain kind of a story.
Right.
And the one quote that I heard from someone, and I know life doesn't actually
Right.
run on quotes, but it's very important to like look at other people's stories. And this was actually an acceptance speech by Skrillex. He's a musician as well,
Okay.
very successful around the world, and he says, success is not something you chase; it's something you attract. And I think that is something that
Mm,
people should remember, because once your product and if we are treating whatever your craft is as
right.
product is of quality, then people are going to want the high
Mm,
quality, right? It's all about, if you're looking in terms of the finer things, then people are going to want the finer things. So that's how
right.
you actually have to sharpen whatever it is that you have. And basically, a short form way to say what I was trying to say is like, yeah, just remember what you do it for, do it for the love
Right.
of it, do because you want to be better at it, and everything else will follow. Everything else that is relevant to you, you keep it. Everything else that is not, you just throw like the trolls.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
No, that's really good advice. I love that. मेरो final Lamo question for you is
right,
you're obviously part of the diaspora, right? I mean, you've been here for a while, and you've seen the Nepali sort of network sort of evolve over time, right? As
right.
well. How can we leverage this network? How can we make it stronger? Especially the professional, like, overall side of things.
Right. I think it's by doing what you guys have done. And what I mean by that is by talking about it more, by bringing into light what people have been able to do. Because
Right.
the most important thing that does is remind people that, you're able to achieve things that you're trying to achieve, right?
Right.
So not just in terms of, perhaps let's say there's a company that's already $100 million plus,
Right.
perhaps giving them attention on a social media platform is not going to help that much, but it'll tell somebody else that, oh, wait, you know what,
Right.
the Nepali person did this. We look at Sagun, and he, released one of his new produced songs, and that song went number one in one evening in 128 countries. And like,
That's right.
even he's younger than I am. I know him. He's like my brother, but
Right.
like even now that is inspiring to me to say, that is absolutely fantastic. And to see like people do things is absolutely, absolutely amazing. And I think it's by talking about things more and like bringing into attention and trying to seek out people, seek out people like if there's a professional side of things, you seek out, someone who's Nepali, who's
Right.
done it perhaps, and you don't even have to like, be best friends, but
Mm.
by, like reaching out, essentially
Right.
just reaching out and just checking in, and that's essentially what I think you're supposed to do. Essentially, a blockchain of people, where you just like,
Exactly, right. No,
pass the
magic
information again.
magic really happens when you do that,
Yeah,
right? And that's
yeah,
the
and it's
easiest thing to do.
yeah, and I think that's the only way. And I think these vehicles that we have right now in the internet and YouTube and
Right.
Instagram and everything. I think the most important thing of if we can take anything away from it, the positive side of things is that it's making people aware of people, and
Mm.
that's the most important thing. And I think we should do more of it. So yeah, the effort of it is certainly like the most important part of things, like showing up to events that people might be at. And
Right.
obviously everything is not everyone's cup of tea.
You
Perhaps not everybody wants to go to a concert. Perhaps
right.
not everyone wants to go to like a meet
But
up or
find your
drinking thing.
tribe in that, right?
Yeah. Just make the effort not to make more friends, but just to check in about where people
Right.
are and where you are, because it's always nice to be a part of something bigger, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's something we should hold on to.
Amazing. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that. Next, say we have a rapid fire round. It's just like
sure,
four questions or so. You don't really have to overthink it. Just think
yeah,
of the first thing that comes to your mind. Unsa,
sure,
ready?
yeah, definitely.
Okay. Favorite place in Nepal?
Kathmandu, it's always home.
Okay.
Yeah,
Favorite Nepali food?
Momo, easy. It's all Momo.
Zol momo, right?
Yeah.
Um, a Nepali author or singer you really like?
Well, it's supposed to be rapid fire, but it's so difficult. Oduna Lama, I would
Mm,
say. Yeah,
I love her.
yeah.
Or could say, apart from New York City, which city is your favorite?
Oof. Paris. Yeah,
Awesome.
I would say Paris is, yeah, they absolutely love the architecture there. And yeah, sorry. Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah,
my answer.
awesome. Last, you already said a quote you really like. That is there anything else in terms of a saying, a quote that, really resonates with you?
Yeah, I think I said this in another podcast as well. There was a quote that said, "Laziness is disrespectful to the." I forgot what it was. Right, right, right. Laziness is disrespectful to all those who believe in you. Yeah, so
Mm.
that was what it was about. Yeah, so
Oh,
that's something that I
that's,
really really like.
that's so
Because
true. It's
yeah, it made me sweat the answer just thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, I remembered it.
just
What is it?
exactly just for fun, we
Yeah.
should have this selection as well, where some.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's gonna be very cool. Yeah, I forgot to open the window as well. On top of that, and just being nervous about that at the last moment. But
No,
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
If you want to keep that in to people who ask me if I still get nervous about things, I absolutely do. Every time I get up on stage, it's so like when I walk in,
And
well, obviously you're smiling and everything, but like it makes you nervous. Like whoa, and that never goes away. But
but
that's
that nervousness is also your passion, I feel like, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, no.
it means you won't take it for granted. Like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, you practice the song, you practice the singing, you
Right.
practice the working with the band and everything, and then you remember, now's the
Well,
time that you did all that for. So
yeah,
it's always, good. That's what I've been able to learn is like, you do everything, and you there's going to be an experience, not necessarily positive every time, and you just
yeah.
learn how to make it turn it into a positive, and that's what it's about. So yeah,
On that positive note, I think we're at
yeah,
the end of our podcast. Sajjan, we've been trying to do this for a while, but I'm so, so
you're right.
grateful for your time. I think, thank you for coming on our podcast. Thank you for being such a good sport about it. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, I was very looking forward to doing this as well. And I'm glad this happened today. Thanks again to the team.
Perfect. And for our listeners, please like, subscribe, and send us feedback. Thank you.